Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 o'clock here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. That means it's time for another live stream. Today is Friday. We made it to Friday. It's the end of the week, August 26th, 2022. And guess what? I'm on day 22 of wearing this Karos Vertix 2 watch, and the battery just will not die. I've been running every day. I think I took a rest day on Monday. But of the 22 days I've had this watch, I think I've had 21 days of running, not mapping every day, but mapping a lot. And this thing still at 11%. I think I've got maybe another 4 or 5 days that I can go on this watch. It's just absolutely incredible. But we're here. Hopefully you guys are doing okay out there in podcast land. The weather in Crystal Lake was fantastic this morning. We've got the windows open like all day today at the house, so it's really nice and balmy. Hopefully it is where you guys are too on your run. And everyone watching this on YouTube but not live, welcome to you guys as well. Hopefully you're having a good day. Hopefully it's like evening time on Friday after work, but before you're doing whatever it is you're going to do the rest of the evening, so a little bit of a in-between time. Or maybe this is what you're doing for the evening and just relaxing. It's been a long week. It's been hard on everybody, so that's okay too. All right, let's see who we got in the chat here. All right, we've got Frank that wants to know, is Killian actually wearing his new shoes? Yeah, you know what? I've been seeing all the UTMB coverage on mainly on Twitter, a little bit on Instagram, and very, very little on TikTok, a little bit as well. But I haven't. The thing is, I've been following what everyone's posting, but I've been watching actually very little of the races. I know it should probably be the other way around, but it's been a pretty hectic couple of days for me here. But yeah, I don't know if he's wearing his new shoes. And Frank also says that it looks like Jim in front of Paul right now. The last tweet I just saw, as I finished talking about how I haven't been following races, I did see that Jim is in the lead right now. And like I was looking at the tweet, it was I Run Far that just tweeted it out. And it was a photo of Jim with like he had like one of those trail shirts that has a zipper, I think, but he had it zippered all the way down. It was almost like to the belly button, and I'm like, oh, that's what happens when you live in Europe for like 3 months. The shirt zipper goes much further down than it does here in the United States. I guess that's the Euro version of a T-shirt with a bunch of holes punched in it for Jim. Although Eliza says I see it as Powell, Killian, Zach, and Jim right now, so things could be changing quickly. All right. Ines says, hi, Kofuzi and everyone. Just in from a first run in the Mach 5. So far, very good. I'm glad you like that one. I almost ran in that shoe today. I was really looking for it. I needed another recovery day after yesterday's long run. But I ended up going to a place where there was going to be a little bit of gravel, some dirt road. So I thought maybe that wouldn't be the best choice for today. I ended up running in the Cloud Monsters again, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. It was a pretty decent choice. I had a good run. It was really beautiful weather, so it would have been very hard to have a bad run on a day like today. But I'm glad you're liking the Mach 5. I need to get back in that shoe. It's a really good one. A really good one. Ron Tommy says, let's go cross-country season. Speaking of that, my daughter had her first cross-country meet yesterday. And it was my wife's first cross-country meet that she had ever seen in person, or I guess in any way, in person, or I guess broadcast on TV. But yeah, so we get to this place. It's an hour away, middle of nowhere, inside this like nice little park. The parking is all in like a big grass field, the end of which is an archery range. No one was shooting arrows at the time, but there's an archery range back there. And I see all the kids like lined up in the big line, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if her coach warned her about the big crush, because I could see the kids all lined up, hundreds of kids, maybe not hundreds, maybe 100 kids. And then I could see across caddy corner, all the way across the field, like a little narrow opening in the trees with 2 cones in there. And I'm like, I hope she knows that like there's going to be a crush of people going through there. And I was like, she's in this meet was 5th through 8th grade. And so like this is her first cross country meet ever. She's in 5th grade. And so I'm like, she's not really going to need to race ahead to get good position in the woods. So I'm like, it's probably fine. But she had my daughter had no idea. Apparently coach did not prepare them for the crush of the start. But it was pretty awesome. It was very exciting. My daughter did well. I think she doesn't know how far she ran. I think it was a 2-mile loop course. I didn't get to see the map or anything. I think it was a 2-mile course. And she came in at about 21 and a half unofficial time, based on me looking at the clock. So I think that's about what she ran. And I was thinking that she'd run somewhere between 23 to 25 for the 2 miles. So feeling good about that. The season is very, very young. Half of those schools weren't even in school yet. So I was like, that's how early we are in the season. But that's my cross country news from from the junior high school circuit in McHenry County. So in case you needed to, yeah, I mean, I feel like I got the scoop on the news here, right? Is there anyone else? This is a worldwide exclusive. There is no other YouTube live stream of McHenry County junior high school cross country. This is it, guys. You guys are getting it. Eric Dorrit said, very cool. Congrats on your daughter. Eliza said, yeah, she did well. Yeah, she had a really good time. Afterwards, she was like, Daddy, my stomach really hurts. Is that normal? I'm like, yes. And I'm like, did your arms burn at the end too? She's like the whole time. I'm like, yeah, those are all normal. That's how it's supposed to be. Isn't that great? And she's like, what? I'm like, you'll feel like it's great in about like 30 minutes. And she did really enjoy it. Yeah, you know, I was there, and after the junior high school, then there was a high school meet afterwards. So then as like we were wrapping up and like the junior high school kids were being like dismissed, the high school girls also ran a 2 mile course, I think, as well. And they were getting sent out like as my family was leaving. And then I think after that would have been the boys. And so yeah, there was a lot of kids there, and I was like, I don't think that, like, I mean, high school kids are not really my demographic on YouTube, but I feel like, you know, some shoes, you know, I feel like the ones that videos that get a lot of views, I think that high school kids might see them too. So, yeah, Stevie76 says, wow, your dad is Kofuzi. No one has put that together yet. No one has asked that yet. And I did have my big camera. I had my like marathon chaser kit. I had my big camera with the telephoto lens, and then I had my GoPro on the selfie stick. And I did chase my daughter around the course a little bit with the GoPro. And I got some photos of the some of the leaders from the race too. I'm not going to be sharing that on in social media, but I did get some of that. But no one was like, hey, I recognize. No one did that yet. We'll see if anyone does. My odds are more. I'd give like 3-1 odds. No one's going to recognize me the entire season. I'm just, you know, that kid's dad. Stephen Lung wants to know, what shoes did she wear? She wore they make kids version of the Nova Blast 2. So she wore those on the course. I was worried because it had rained all night before, and it had sprinkled rain as we were driving over. I mean, my wife and I and the baby, we all drove over. My daughter took the bus, but like we drove over and it was raining on the way. So I was worried that it was going to be muddy, and I was like, oh, I should have got her some trail shoes. Some of the older junior high school kids had actual cross country spikes in. So I was like, all right, so she wouldn't be like the weirdo out here with like special grip, but she said she was fine on it. So yeah. Yeah. Junior high school cross country is amazing. It's so amazing. It's fun. Martha says, great start with your daughter. Congrats to her. Thanks so much, Martha. Yeah, she had fun out there. She had some friends that she was running with, and she had some friends that she was like, did you see this girl come in? And I was like, which one is that? There's like 50 kids on their cross country team. And because I think it's one of the only sports that fifth graders can do at the school. And so there's a bunch of kids there. And I was like, I don't know which one that is, hon. You're going to have to be more specific. And she's like, well, she's like my height and blonde. I'm like, you're going to have to be way more specific. That's like 3/4 of the kids on your team. You know that? And she's like, oh, okay. Oh, I see her. So she went off. So she was very interested to see like, where did her friends come in and all that stuff. So it was good. She's being a good little teammate, good cross-country runner. So, yeah. Ron Tommy says, I need to get her some dragonflies. I think I'm going to let her kind of lay low on the radar for a little bit. Today I told her to wear her other running shoes. She got a pair of Nike somethings at like Famous Footwear or something like that. I was like, you got to rotate your shoes. You can't wear the same shoes every day. She's like, okay, all right. Yeah. And Wilfredo says, what's up, Cohesions? And we all know that little co will be well prepared for all weather conditions. You know, I mentioned to her today, I'm like, I don't know what your coach is going to assign for running, but he'll probably have you run at least once over the weekend. If you want, we can go together. And she's like, I think I'm good. I'm just going to run around the neighborhood a couple of times. So she's already like done with me, I guess. So they grow up so fast. Oh man. And it says we might need another shoe rack in the Kofuzi household. Yeah, yeah. It was funny because the baby has made a friend. She's first grade. She made a friend with a girl that lives down the street, and we kind of like walk past their house to get to the bus stop, and then we usually see them coming out of the house. And they were just talking about like their parents' shoes, and the baby was like, "My dad has so many more shoes than my mom," and so she's just telling all our business to the whole neighborhood. It was really funny. Jonathan Crosley says, "I still have memories from middle school cross country races. Good time. Awesome. That's awesome. I don't think that I mean, maybe I didn't do it. Maybe I didn't participate. But like I don't remember there being cross country for junior high school. I did track in junior high, but I was so bad at it. It wouldn't be a surprise if the track coach did not like invite me to be in cross country too. I never did it. I did cross country in high school, but not in junior high. But it was fun. I mean, they had like bibs and stuff too. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was nice. Martha says, I'm picturing a Mont Blanc size pile of running shoes near the front door. Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly going. I mean, you know what? I feel like I'm going to be much better prepared for hilly races because not only is it a little bit hilly here, all the runs that I do is a lot more elevation that I normally not. It's not hilly by any means, but a lot more elevation than I would get in Chicago along the lakefront. But also, I'm going up and down. I'm in the basement now, and then I'm going upstairs. So that's where a lot of the shoes are as well. And I'm taking the kids never put their shoes away. I'm constantly going up and downstairs. So I feel like that's my leg workout, like a stay-at-home dad quad workout, just going up and down the stairs a whole bunch, cleaning up everybody's shoes. All right. Speaking of shoes, one thing I wanted to do today on camera, we had the video about the Super Comp Trainer. So if anyone came here with questions about the Super Comp Trainer, maybe it's your first time, drop a couple emojis in your comment in the chat. That helps me find it easier. And I'll be happy to answer any questions or if we got any other running shoe questions. But one of the things I want to do is today weigh the shoes, not that they've dried out a little bit more. Just because I thought it was weird that New Balance used like a size like 11 for their reference weight for the Super Comp Trainer, as if to make it seem heavier than it was. So yesterday, soaking wet right after my run, it was 11.1 ounces. Dried it out for half a day, it was 10.7. Now it's pretty much dry. It just feels a little cold, not damp, but like it feels cold, so maybe it's damp, but let's see what it is now. It's been like more than 24 hours since my last run. Holy crud. Wait, that's not right. 10.1 ounces now. It's a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be. Let's weigh it again. No, here we go. Another weight. I used to have to weigh things for a living. So you take 5 weights, you discard the top and bottom. 10.1, 10.3, 10.3. Let's rotate it around again. 10.2. So I'm going to say like 10.3, 10.2. Wow. Is the dry weight for the Super Comp Trainer. Not bad for a 47 millimeter sack height shoe. So that's where we're at. Cranky Oat says, do you think that high-end shoes is good because it's good or because the hype that makes you think it's good? Well, I mean, there is certainly a placebo effect. I think that's something that a lot of people are talking about right now. Not so much clinicians, but people that are reporting on medical studies. Talk about a lot is placebo effect. You know, I mean, if you think about placebo effect, it's strong enough to mirror if it's not a properly blinded study. Some people can, because of the placebo effect, experience physiological changes that are as strong as high-end pharmaceuticals, right? So like that is a known like kind of phenomenon. And some people like, are pushing even further saying like, we need to figure out a way to harness placebo effect. Instead of thinking of it as noise, how do we think of it as therapeutics, right? So there's all that kind of like thing. But I think that there's a difference in high-end shoes. So if you run in shoes that are not high-end and then switch to a high-end shoe and then, go back and forth, I think you'll know the difference. I think the question, Cranky Oat, that you're probably really wanting to know, your real question is it worth it? Which is a much different question, I think, because then you're inserting a price value subjective into there, which is an individual question based on an individual person's kind of like finances and things that they value. So opportunity cost of money spent on shoes versus other things. So there's a lot of else things that go in there. But is there a difference between high-end shoes and budget shoes? Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing that I'd love to be able to do is, I don't know how I would do it either, and we did something similar to this when I was in San Luis Obispo with Running Warehouse. A really fun video will be coming out. I don't know exactly when, because sometimes they shoot stuff and then it's like, oh, 6 months later, there's the video. I think that just they sprinkle their content throughout the year. But we shot this super fun video that's somewhere along this line, but something that I would love to be able to do that takes the video that we did shoot even further is blind like shoe test. I would need to have someone like put on a shoe on my feet for me, and then tie them up and stuff so I couldn't touch the shoe to figure out what it was. Sorry, I'm fidgeting. If there's something near me when I'm talking, I'll fidget. But I'd love to be able to like have someone put a pair of shoes on me blindfolded and then figure out a way that I didn't look down but could still run like a lap around a track maybe. Maybe like kind of like with the blind athletes, have someone running next to me with like a tether on, like a handcuff kind of thing. So I could see if I could tell if I could identify which shoe a shoe was. And if I couldn't identify exactly what shoe it was, how much do I think it costs, kind of thing, or should it cost? So, I mean, I think it's a very interesting question. My answer to that is absolutely. There is a difference. And it's not just because it's hyped. Because I talk about all the time, I make YouTube thumbnails. So like when I did Ultra Vanish Carbon, you gotta always have kind of like a thought-provoking title. So Vanish Carbon is the most underrated shoe, right? And then last year with the Boston 10, Adidas' most confusing shoe, or Adidas' most misunderstood shoe. So like, there's definitely something to be said for trying to look through the hype, but it's also something we're aware exists, but we try to cut through it. And who will never let us simply buy into hype? People in the audience. So, just look at today. For example, I did the Super Comp Trainer. So many people are like, that's just a tall shoe. That's a gimmick. Even though like I spent the entire video talking about why I don't think the height is a gimmick. Interesting side note. Most of the people commenting that the height is a gimmick are people that will expressly say in that comment that they never tried the shoe. But, that's a side note. That's a commentary on YouTubeism. But, so it's something that we think about in this space. All right. So a lot of people are giving us conflicting reports in terms of what's happening at UTMB. Andrew says that super early, but Jim is leading. Eliza said that he was not. But, I think it's early, right? I'm not sure. It says, first cross country, they used to get an old minibus with a kid holding the back door closed to the woods and had to run back to school. That was cross country. That's amazing. I don't know if that's a joke, but I could also see it being very true. So, yeah. Jonathan Crosby says, I know you tend to like the high-stack shoes. Industry seems to have gone that way in general. But do you think it'll swing back to more moderate stacks in the next few years? I think, yes, absolutely. But not because of like preference changes so much. I think that it will be because of technology changes. So like, I don't like high stack for the sake of high stack. I like high stack because it enables certain running sensations that I want. So when we're talking about like the Super Comp Trainer, it makes room for that energy arc, that weird, super aggressive slope of the carbon plate, that channel in the inside that kind of creates that squish, like a giant, basically, bubble to run on. So like the height creates that, right? And then like the height in other super squishy foams and allows for the compression. And so think of it like crumple zones in a car that helps you survive a car crash. It minimizes the impact force. Force equals mass times acceleration kind of thing. If you increase the amount of time it takes for the impact to slow down rather than slapping down versus squishing down, that reduces the impact forces, right? You need squishy foams, need travel to do that. Think about like a stunt person jumping off a building into a big giant like big pillow kind of thing. It's super high and tall and dense, and they fall in really fast, so it compresses. You need the distance for the materials to work. I think as materials advance, we'll be able to do that with less, same effect with less of it, so that way the shoes will get lighter and still stay just as squishy. So I mean, that's I think where things are going, but until like there's more material sciences advances, shoes are just going to get bigger. They'll get bigger, they'll get lighter. I think consumers, part of it is consumers like, oh, it's more foam, lighter weight. That's a great combo, right? But I also feel like if there's a way to give the same feeling, same amount of foam, but it's even lighter in weight, then that also works for me too. But it's just, they gotta work on the physics of it. So I think it'll swing back, but not because of it's not like bell bottoms versus slim fit jeans that the just preferences change. I think that what people want is always like a better running sensation, and improving the amount of foam or the kind of foam will enable that. So that's kind of my prediction of it. But, I'm taking into account that material science advances will happen into that. So who knows if that's actually true. All right. That was a side rant. Aziz John Sharvoff says, Adidas Primex versus this New Balance shoes, which do you recommend? I think it depends on what you want, Aziz John. So the Adidas Primex has more of a racer feel to it. And so like I definitely prefer it for workouts. Kind of hate it for easy paced running because it's just not built for that. The Primex is built for 4-foot loading. So for me, when I'm doing threshold paces, when I'm doing marathon work, that's where the shoe really shines, and I feel like I can run in a straight line, set it and forget it speed forever. It's awesome. This shoe is a little bit different in that like it's kind of, they both meet, they overlap in terms of the Venn diagram at kind of marathon pace, but I think it does easy paces a lot better, and it's a very different shoe when you get to faster paces. And so it's almost kind of like there's two shoes in one with this one. I try not to call too many shoes mullet shoes because it's my like kind of go-to thing to do for shoes, but it's kind of like that speed in the front, recovery shoe in the back. And so there's a little bit different in terms of what you want. So I will recommend a different shoe depending on what you want. That's what it comes to it. The Adidas Primex though is one of my favorite shoes of all time because it's just so much fun. It's a crazy bonkers shoe. It doesn't make sense. It makes people mad. Because I don't know, that tall stack height just gets people incensed for some reason. But it's so much fun to run in. I love it. And that's a hard shoe to beat, I think. But the SC Trainer is not exactly like a Primex, nor do I think it's really supposed to be a competitor. But like I said in the video, there's a spectrum between like Bondi X, Puma Deviate, SC Trainer, Primex, in terms of like super tall stack height shoes that are used for racing or could be used for racing. It's still illegal, but could be used for racing. And super tall stack height shoes that are used for basically max cushion, like easy running purposes, so there's a spectrum, I think. All right. Frank says we need a double blind study with people running without being able to see their feet. I mean, when you think about the way people tell you to run, they tell you to look ahead of you, right? So I mean, like you shouldn't be looking down. I think all it would take would be kind of like the reverse of like there's a thing called rock climbing glasses. I don't remember. Have we talked about, do you rock climb? But I see them, and usually it's like the old guys at the rock climbing gym that wear them. And while they're like belaying, a lot of times they're kids. Rather than look up at the climber, there's these glasses with mirrors so you could look straight ahead, but the mirrors will show you what's up above you, so you don't have to crack your neck back. They just need glasses like that you can run in, but maybe without mirrors, just so you can't see your feet below you, but so that way you could still see ahead. That's what I need, so I could do this study. Yeah. Martha, for the blind study, they could put one of those things like dogs where so they don't lick their wounds. Adams has a dog cone of shame. Can you imagine running? Can you imagine running around a track with that? Or if you had a lab study, and you just had like 12 people running around a track with cones on. I mean, the cones might actually work because they would stay on. They'd be big enough that they wouldn't stay on. They wouldn't fall off even while running. Like glasses might kind of shake off. Um, and you could cut them so that way you could still see ahead. You just couldn't see your shoes. That would be really funny. Very funny. Alana Yildirsma says, "Yo, Mike, any interest in reviewing Carhu? Maybe the Carhu Iconi? I saw them at Fleet Feet, but haven't any luck finding any good reviews. Yeah, I think Carhu is from my understanding, is an international brand, but they are licensed in the U.S. to be sold only as a Fleet Feet in-store brand. I think that's the story on Carhu. I've just never been that interested in them, so I don't know. I mean, I think that's one of the ways. I mean, we've been talking about hype this whole live stream. I think that's one of the ways that like hype kind of like is helpful in that it kind of like gives a sense of like what is piquing people's interest. I mean, I know a lot of hype generates from the manufacturer side, but like simply throwing money at marketing doesn't always equal to hype, and so like there requires a bit of word of mouth. And I think what's interesting is that no one's really talking about them. It's been around for a while. So it just kind of was like, is this something they're really pushing? I didn't know that they still made them or that they still sold them at Fleet Feet. But I don't know. I think if someone sent me a pair, I would try them, but I'm probably not going to go and buy them myself. It's kind of where I'm at. Calvin Huang says, "Yo, go Snoozy." What's going on, Calvin? Good to see you. All right. Stephen Lung said, "I had my first run in the Super Comp trainers yesterday, and wow, I found my new go-to shoe in marathon training." Yeah, so I mean, like, well, I see, Stephen, you got a New Balance shoe in your avatar photo, so I feel like this is probably up your alley if you're a New Balance fan. But like, New Balance markets it as like a high mileage shoe, and it kind of makes me think about like in the way that like I had the interview with Dakota Lindworm, and she didn't love the Puma Velocity, even though that's like the daily trainer. She prefers the Puma Eternity, which is a stability shoe. It's a higher stack stability shoe, and that's the one that she likes because it's like she's running a lot of miles, easy miles in air quotes because her easy miles are fast, but easy miles for her, and she just uses that to load up the legs. She says she uses them for, I don't know if like sometimes even I forget to change the shoe that you did for a workout in Strava, but it looks like she's doing like threshold repeats in her Puma Eternities, and stuff like that too. So like, it depends on the runner. You might have one shoe that you can do everything in. I do think that like this could be a daily trainer for someone that's doing high mileage. So even people that are like, maybe you live primarily near roads and you're getting ready for an ultra marathon that might be in the trails. So you might log a lot of road miles. Like I feel like this could really work because there's just so much in the heel for this shoe and in the midfoot. So I feel like for whoever's high mileage, I think it could work as a daily trainer. I just feel like it gets really firm in the forefoot because of the way that the plate comes down. And so I don't think that I would love it for a lot of easy miles. But for the run I had yesterday, I mean, yesterday's run was a struggle for me. But that was hydration and nutrition related. But like, and my feet actually felt pretty good. So like it could work as like a daily trainer. But I mean, I'm trying not to like recommend like super high stack height plated shoes as daily trainers, but if people want to use it that way, I think it could totally work. So, but I also think from New Balance, like, we'll see with the Rebel 3. I think that comes out soon. I did look yesterday, by the way, guys, on someone mentioned that it's available on Roadrunner Sports. And unless like they changed it since the live stream yesterday, I did look at it, I think this morning, and it's a pre-order situation. So, I mean, I'm hoping that the Rebel 3 is the daily trainer that I finally want from New Balance. I've talked to a couple of people who have had it for a while, and they're like, I don't know if they're like, I think I like it as a daily trainer, like that person, but they don't know if I, Kofuzi, would like it as a daily trainer. So we'll see what New Balance has left for us this year. But yeah, I mean, I could see a lot of people using this multiple times per week. All right, Jason Dawes here. What's going on, Jason? Good to see you again. He says, hey, everyone. Glad to be able to make one of the streams. Next week is my peak for Berlin training. Starting to get close, which seems insane. Isn't it crazy? Like, people are talking about, like, it's less than 10 weeks out from New York, right? Is that right? That sounds wrong. And it's like 6 weeks out from Chicago, too. Berlin's like the weekend before Chicago this year, isn't it? So it's like, I mean, it's usually that close together. Like, I've talked to a lot of people. I meet them, like, like running out in the course, that have done like the Berlin and Chicago kind of double. And it's basically like one giant trip, I would love to be able to do it someday. But good luck, Jason. I'm jealous. Sounds awesome. How you feeling? You must be really deep into the marathon training. Kit says, the SC Trainer high stack reminds me of the Tempo Next. I think that Tempo Next might have been pretty similar in stack height to this. I don't think anyone ever got a firm number from Nike in terms of what the Tempo Next stack height was. But I think the consensus was that this is definitely over 40 millimeters, which is the World Athletics upper limit. And so, like, in theory, it kind of is like it's built like a Tempo Next percent. Hey, has Ben Parks reviewed this shoe? Ben Parks loved the Tempo Next percent. I got to go check to see if he's reviewed this shoe. I get the sense that he would probably love it because it's kind of has the same idea. Super high cushion in the back, although the Tempo Next, it was React foam. And then squishy foam still in the front, but with the Zoom air pockets, the giant ones in the Tempo Next. So, I mean, it kind of is built similarly. The Tempo Next percent didn't quite have the channel that the Energy Arc has, but it did kind of have a little bit of a little scallop. So, there. All right. Is this, Affluent Journeys, Mike Lukens. All right. Now choose my real name. Cool. There you go. Good to see you. Is that this is a new, like, logo. Oh, here we go. It's a new logo over here too. That's a different than the one that you've had before, but good to see you. Andrew's giving us live updates from UTMB. He says, Sage Canada is having a nice start, sitting in the mid-30s. You know what result I did see and took very close note of? Well, not that close, because I don't know what place he came in. But I did see that Steven Ganoza, serious runner, finished OCC. Was it OCC? Yeah, the 50K. So he finished that yesterday. He was looking good. He's coming in pretty hot in the finish. He was looking strong. And I wanted to, like, comment on it. I'm like, no, that's not Steven Ganoza. Steven Ganoza wears a Tracksmith singlet. But, I didn't want to, like, I know he wanted to run it not as serious runner. He wanted to run it as Steven Ganoza. So I think I just said congratulations. I got to make sure I actually said anything, if not just liked it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been, I follow the people that I know, I guess. I don't really know. I don't know that many of the UTMB competitors. Yeah. But have you guys, it's been, I've been seeing almost as much as the UTMB coverage is the anti-UTMB coverage. It's not anti-UTMB coverage, but there's been a lot of tweets going around from running media, a lot of whom people that I don't know, that I can't say that I know, but I've either interacted with quite a bit online or have met at other, like, events as media. And so there's a lot of people that are like, it's okay if you're not at UTMB, it's like, you're still a runner if you're not in Chamonix right now. So, like, whoever's running the media activations, well, I think it's not any one entity, because I see a lot of On over there. I see a lot of Hoka. I mean, Hoka's dominating because it's a Hoka event now at UTMB. So I've been seeing that. I've been seeing a lot of journalists that are over there that are being brought over by brands and stuff. So there's a lot of media activations that are happening. So there's a lot of, like, attention being paid there. And so then there's a lot of, like, the discussion of, is this a bad idea to pay so much attention to one and not as much attention to other events? I feel like this is a conversation that happens anytime that there's a spotlight on any one event. I think the same conversation happened about World Athletics in Eugene. And so I'm like, you know what? For the people that are over there, have a great time. Don't feel bad. I feel like there's some people that are not there that are trying to make the people that are over there feel bad about being there. And I'm like, no, just enjoy it. Take it all in. Become like, inspired by what you see and bring that excitement back to your community. You know what I'm saying? So like that's how I feel about it. So I think it's awesome the way that people are getting excited about UTMB. But yeah. Martha says, I hope Sage has a great UTMB after what he's been through. I mean, yeah, I hope so too. I really hope so. And it says, no joke about the cross country in the minibus. Someone fell out when we stopped and the back door flew open once. I'm laughing because I'm assuming they're okay. Because if they got hurt, that's not funny. But that is really funny. That's pretty amazing. Cross country in the UK just hits different, I think. Amazing. Jay Bringo says, can you compare the Super Comp against the More version 3 for slow paces and or brisk walking? So I think that the Super Comp difference is that it feels different throughout the entire shoe, right? So I kind of was hinting earlier that it's a little bit of a mullet where the back is really soft and squishy because they have that catapult pop from the rearward to kind of fling you forward. And then in the front, it rolls nicely because there's geometry and the way that the plate is in there. So you get pushed off into your next step. It's very much designed for a running gait. Because think about like the way like something, if you squish it, like imagine you're squishing like slime, like, like the slime that kids make. You squish it, it comes back like at a certain, its own schedule, right? So there's overtime. I think that the way that the Super Comp trainer, and I might be overthinking it, but I think that the way the Super Comp trainer is designed, it's not going to be like working as intended at walking paces or standing around, that kind of thing. That's where I do think that the More version 3 is going to be a little bit better suited for it because it's using a different foam. It's not relying on carbon for any of the bounce or stability. It's relying on foam and like kind of the geometry and structural integrity of that different foam, which is a little bit heavier, but also a little bit thicker and a little bit more responsive. So like when it bounces back a little bit quicker. The fuel cell squishes and responds, but it does it very quickly, which makes it great for racing. The Fresh Romax, I feel like, is more muted, and so, but it's still a very soft and bouncy foam. Just in it's a different kind of bounce, like racquetball versus tennis ball. I'm not sure which one is which in this analogy, metaphor. So for slow paces or brisk walking, I'd probably lean more towards the More version 3, because I think that I like it a little bit more in the forefoot in terms of comfort than I like the Super Comp trainer in the forefoot. So if you're not trying to get in a running workout in it, I think I would lean towards the More version 3 for your use case. Affluent Journeys, you're going back and forth. You got your regular one and the old one. Is it fair to make New Balance Nova Blast 3 the shoe of the year when nobody can get it? No one complained when I said the first next percent was shoe of the year and nobody could get it. So, I mean, I think there's a precedent. If we're going to go by precedent, that's okay. And also it's kind of my way of kind of like staking my claim as a reviewer and trying to scoop the other reviewers and saying that this shoe is good. I'm not just hopping on the bandwagon. I'm not dogpiling. I'm ready to say it that I think it's the shoe of the year. I've run in it enough and I've run in enough shoes this year. And keeping in mind, there's some shoes that still haven't come out, that might be great. That could possibly take it, but I'm also taking a bit of a risk by doing that when did I make the call? August? Something like that, July? I think it was early August that I made the call. When I made the Vaporfly Next Percent the shoe of the year. That was like April of that year. And I don't think I was wrong for that year. It was a really good shoe. So that's kind of my take on it is when you know, you know. It's not like, Major League Baseball MVP. I don't need to have the RBI stats first before I can justify my decision, So that's kind of how I feel about it. Luke Klein tried on the SC Trainer yesterday. Super stack, nice and comfy too. I like the upper. It just keeps cutting me in the front of my foot. It did that again yesterday too. I just need longer socks, I think. But yeah, it's comfy. Yeah, it's a good one. Wilfredo says, with all the different stack heights you run in, have you found a sweet spot, drop, and height? See, here's the thing about stack heights. I love talking about them, but I think people get too obsessive over. I mean, it's ironic that I keep saying like people are getting too obsessed over the metrics. I think that like people like thinking about stack heights are thinking about them too uniformly. A stack height of like, for example, Phylon foam, the stuff that's in like the Zoom Streak, 20 millimeters of that is different than 20 millimeters of fuel cell foam is different than 20 millimeters of ZoomX foam, right? And so like, and 20 millimeters of ZoomX foam with a plate inside is different than 20 millimeters of ZoomX foam, right? And so it all depends on what we're talking. It's like stack height of what's in there, I think is more important than the actual number itself. So like I don't have a sweet spot in height, I don't care. All I know is depending on the use case of the shoe, there's a certain kind of things that I prefer, and it changes depending on the shoe. But for drop, I do tend to have a little bit more of a preference. I used to be a 10 millimeters guy, but like I find myself really enjoying 8 millimeter shoes is kind of like something that I tend to enjoy more. Down to 4. Below 4, I don't have a problem with zero drop shoes. There aren't as many that I review. But the most of the shoes that I review are in the 4 to 8 range. And those are the shoes that I tend to like. For racing, like 4 to 6. For daily training, 6 to 8, 6 to 10 is kind of how I tend to like it. So, yeah. All right, let me keep scrolling down to the bottom. I'm way behind you guys in the chat. Dr. Funk 1216 says, I had an impression that the Endorphin Pro 3 was getting a lot of love this year by shoe tubers. I think it is. I've found that I tend to not like the Endorphin Pro series as much as everyone else does. I'm always like, it's so close to being a really fantastic marathoning shoe. But I'm not sure yet about number 3. I'll take it on a long run here within the next week at much more marathon effort. But like, it still seems so far to be a really great threshold workout shoe, a really great like half marathon racer. Versions 1 and 2 though just weren't soft enough for me to take the marathon distance. I mean, I could probably survive and do it, but it wouldn't be ideal for me, I think. So that's kind of where I've always been on the Endorphin series. I'm really hoping that the Pro 3, it does feel softer this year with the redesign. So I'm really hoping it's the shoe that I've been asking for the last couple of years. Martha says, speaking of numbers, I think it's good you don't use a scoring system. It seems to bring grief to some shoe tubers, and it certainly doesn't influence me at all. Yeah, people ask me for like a number score all the time. Well, I think people have learned that I don't do scoring. And I think that it injects an undue or unjustified sense of objectivity to something that is I think a subjective experience, right? I mean, even if you're like taking scores of like durometer and stack height and all this stuff and have like maybe you have a softness score in terms of what a material feels like. I feel like the shoe is more than the sum of its parts. Something that I talked about a lot in today's video was plate placement. And I'm talking about it even more in the next video, which will be about the Magic Speed 2. So, I mean, I think that there's like a lot that goes into stuff that's more than just like metrics that you can like measure and objectify and then put into like a score. I think that because people's feet and people's preferences are so different too, that it's more helpful to put things into like broader categories, you know? That's kind of like what I like. And then from there suggest like, all right, if you're worried about like, you know, this shoe or that shoe, go find a couple of different reviewers. There's tons of us out here. And find someone that tends to agree with you on shoes that you have experience with, and kind of what does that person think? So that's kind of like what I think. I think that on another level, there is an element of like, you know, people just like to talk about shoes and we want to be able to talk about it. And it's like, oh, well, what did you give that one? Oh yeah, this was my great shoe from like 6 years ago and I gave it a 7.8 out of 9, you know? And it's like, but this shoe, new one, you're saying it's even better, but it's only got a 7.3 out of 9. How does that even make sense? You know, so it's funny to like have those like debates about for people that just want to talk about shoes all day long. But I feel like there's other ways to kind of talk about it, you know? So that's why I don't like to do the numbers. I mean, I'm heavily influenced as well by Ginger Runner. Did he used to do scoring? He used to do scoring, right? Like on the different category, like the midsole, the outsole, and the upper. And then he switched to the buy, try, or why a while back. So like, I mean, I'm not the only one that's not putting numbers on things. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Jason Ram says, can you feel the zero drop as soon as you put it on? I can typically feel it in my medial ankles. I think it depends on the shoe and the terrain. So like in the Lone Peak, can I feel it? Not that quickly because you're running on trails in the Lone Peak, you know? But if you are talking about like a Escalante, I can feel it. I can also feel that the Ultra Vanish Carbon doesn't feel like a zero drop shoe to me. I feel like there's something funny going on in that shoe. So, you know, I think, you know, I'm not saying I could tell the difference between a 4mm drop and a 5mm drop, because again, there's different insoles that are involved. There's different foams that are involved. There's some shoes that have multiple kinds of foam that are different in the heel versus in the forefoot. That when measured, when the shoe is sitting on a table is one thing, but like when a foot's in it, could be doing different things. So there's, you know, nuance to the conversation, but generally I can tell, but I'm also highly, highly skeptical of anyone that's like, oh, well, you didn't like that shoe because you normally run in 10mm drop shoes. It's going to take you 3 to 5 months of running in a 4mm drop shoe and then graduating to a zero drop shoe. There's people that are out there that still with a straight face will tell me that. And I'm just like, no, that's just not true. That's just not true at all. So, yeah, I could feel it. But, I don't know where else. Maybe that's just a side rant on people that have been giving me a hard time on the internet lately. Affluent Journeys wants to know, is the Primex worth $100 more than the New Balance? The Super Comp trainer? I think the Primex one, I thought I saw that it was discounted. So I'm not sure that it's $100 more expensive anymore anyway. But I also think that it depends on what you're using it for. So I think they're both tall stack height shoes, but they're tall stack height for different, I think, use cases. Maybe New Balance doesn't think of it that way, but I don't really think of the Primex being in the same category as the, I thought it was going to be. That's kind of like my mindset going into testing it. But after yesterday's long run, I don't think that it's like a Primex competitor as much as it is like a Puma Deviate competitor. And so, or like even like a Zoom Fly competitor, you know, a training companion to a racing shoe. And so like, yes, the tall stack height is headline grabbing, and I'm struggling because I think I've been doing this myself, is to create a sub niche of thick boys, just like 40mm and plus. But I think that like is a misleading way of looking at it. You know, so I don't, just because they're both tall doesn't mean they're both in the same type of shoe. And Adam says, as a or primarily 4-foot striker, the drop doesn't matter much to him. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Dr. Funk 1216 says, are you going to do a video at the end of the year where you use a tier maker to rank all the shoes? I'd watch the hell out of that video. Probably not. I'm not super interested in that. I will do like a top 5. I usually start doing that like a little bit before Thanksgiving. I start putting that together. I used to do it in December. Speaking of like competing with the other shoe tubers, I used to do it in December. So that way when there's no shoes out and people are like, not running as much, but maybe thinking about what shoes to buy as like Christmas gifts, I would do it then. But Believe in the Run started doing their top 5 shoe categories in like October. And so I'm like, I can't have mine come out 2 months later. People are going to think I'm plagiarizing. So I might do it a little bit earlier. But yeah, the ones where I rank like my top 5 favorites at the end of each year, those videos usually do pretty well. They take forever to make, but it's a fun one to make. So I'll kind of do that. I'll talk about my favorites, and the ones that aren't in there, anyone's free to ask me about where I think they might fit, kind of relatively speaking in the hierarchy. But yeah, like I know like Seth has his like matrix. That's like way too specific for I don't have the patience for that. I'm glad that he's doing it because someone should do it, but it's just I don't want it to be me. Oh, Rainrunner's here. Rainrunner says, "Oh, I missed today. I was out walking the dog." Well, it's good to see you. Stevie76 says, Seth got flack when he scored the Mach 5 over the Speed 3. The Mach 5 though is a really good shoe. I didn't know that he ranked the Mach 5 over the Speed 3, but I also think they're different categories of shoes too. So that's why I feel like, it's like, okay, let's say I'm reviewing cars, right? Like I could think that like the F-150 electric is like a 9 out of 10. I can also say that like, I don't know, like the Audi RS in terms of sports cars is a 9 out of 10. Does that mean I think that the Ford F-150 electric is worth the same dollar for dollar as the Audi or can drive as fast as it or whatever? No, but like I feel like you gotta sandbox a little bit. That's what I think, but I don't know. He has got to do his scores the way he does, and I think that like the best part about the scoring is that it creates controversy. It gives you something to talk about, while it can also be helpful for consumers that are looking for a way to kind of understand the market. I get that it's helpful to people. It's just not helpful for me to have to make it, but I'm glad it's out there. Is this Mach 5 better than Speed 3? I don't know. I haven't run it yet. We'll see. If I make the video and I think the Speed 3 is better than the Mach 5, I'll be surprised because I think the Mach 5 is excellent this year. I think my number, like in daily trainers, it's number 2 in the year. But if I think the Speed 3 is better, I'll make the thumbnail. Seth was wrong. That'll be funny. Oh man, the comments will be fiery on that one. All right. Let's do one more and then I'll get going for today. Stevie76. Should there be should I don't like to lambast shoes for being bad. Like I wouldn't want to do like a 5 biggest flops of the year. I don't even like to do here's the 5 best plus 1 like disappointment, because I mean the people that made the disappointing shoe know that they made a disappointing shoe, and they working hard. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, I guess. But I guess maybe I'll ask that and you guys can do the dirty work for me. But top 5 Smelly shoes. Those are basically the ones. Which ones breathe the worst? Because then your sweat gets in there, or if you're running through mud or a swamp, like the Stearns fen. Fen is another word for swamp. We learned, right? Sometimes I'm running through like weird green muck. That stuff stinks. So like, I could make a list of top 5 Smelly shoes. I don't think that would necessarily be bad, but I think it'd be kind of like pooping on shoes, I guess, a little bit. Dr. Funk says, can you send the companies a trophy who won? I thought about doing that last year. Should I do that this year? Or is that lame? So I was trying to think. I think Marquez MKBHD. I'm talking about him like I'm on first name basis. MKBHD. I think he used to like get dressed up and do like a thing, right, for his for his awards at the end of the year, and made a video. And I don't know if he sent the awards to them or not, but I don't know. Maybe I'll make some awards this year. You know what? If there's a local trophy shop in Crystal Lake, like a little like store I can walk in, like a mom and pop shop. If there's a trophy shop, maybe I'll get some. I'll make like best shoe of the year, daily trainer. My categories are daily trainer, racing shoe or carbon plated shoe, max cushion shoe, and then speed shoe. Like I'll do those categories. I'll send them. The thing is, some of these brands I don't know who to send it to. Like I would know who to send it to at ASICS. I don't know who else. I guess I could reach out to the ASICS account and be like, "Hey, can you send me? I have a package I want to I want to send to you guys. Can you give me an address?" But I'll try. I'm gonna look for a trophy shop, and we'll see what we can do. I think that'd be funny. It'd be great if it shows up like on social, So I'll send it. This is under embargo until the best of video drops. All right. But I think it's a good idea. I'll try. All right. That's a good place to leave it for today, guys. It's Friday. Hopefully you have a great weekend. Have fun out there on your runs. Bring extra water or other hydration, whatever you're drinking in your pack. Bring extra. You'll thank me for it later. All right. Have a great run out there. I'll see you guys again on Monday for the live stream, same time as today. I think we'll be able to do Monday mukbang, so I'm looking forward to that. I got a bunch more food over there that I'm ready to test out. So I'll see you guys again. Be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.